All righty. Well, hey, everybody. This is Kirk Cabana, and welcome to this week's episode of Pursuit for Purpose. Thank you to everybody who has joined live via the different platforms, and thank you to all that will listen to the recording at a different time. Super thankful for the continued support, and hope that with taking your time here today that that there's something that you can benefit from as a person. This week, we'll be discussing the topic of faith. We're joined by Kier Meredith. Kier is a member of the Boston Red Sox organization. He's a Clemson alum. He's drafted out of high school by the Chicago Cubs. And he's also the head of baseball community for the Press Sports app. More than a baseball talent, he's a great young man who's battled through the challenges placed in front of him to get to where he is now. And I don't see that any signs of that slowing down. So join me in welcoming Kier Meredith. Kier, thanks a ton for joining us, man.
Absolutely, Kirk. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Appreciate that a ton, big time. Kier, if you can mute your mic on the Twitter Spaces.
Got it, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to jump right into some questions for ourselves. And, man, just right off the bat, though, you're a gifted athlete. You've had highs and lows, and I kind of just want to know, how has faith shined a light in your life through the darkest of times, and how has it given you guidance in the best of times?
Absolutely. I really appreciate that first of all. But faith has really been the backbone of everything. Baseball is a hard sport. There's a lot of ups and downs, and I think it would be a lot more difficult and tougher without faith for sure. It's definitely guided me and honestly has allowed me to live a balanced life, stay a little even killed in the field, and really just all around in life.
Well, that's awesome. And for yourself, is there a particular time in the baseball journey that faith kind of seemed to come to a little bit more of a heightened stage in your life?
I would say my entire college career, to be honest. I got to Clemson in 2017, and that's kind of when my faith became my own faith, per se. I grew up in church my entire life and kind of was a rule follower. I didn't understand that following Jesus was more so about a relationship with the Lord and less about following the rules, per se. And I got to Clemson, and my life was literally centered around sports. I played football and ran track and played baseball in high school. And I got to Clemson and expected everything to be smooth sailing. But little did I know I was in for a rude awakening. So got there, had a broken hand when I got to Clemson, so I didn't get to play much my first fall. Finally was getting healthy that fall, tore my labrum in my right shoulder. So that caused me to miss my first half of my freshman year. After that, I had another injury, had surgery after the season ended. After that, I think there was 3 or 4 more injuries after that. But I say all that to say, like I said before, growing up, my life revolved around sports, and baseball was kind of my God. And so I think coming to Clemson, I actually had to learn what my foundation was. And I realized very, very quickly that it wasn't rooted in Jesus. And so really, it's been a continual process of learning how to put my identity and my worth in something else other than baseball.
Man, that's powerful, and definitely I can't say that I've personally gotten to have an experience like that where you were at the top, you were experiencing what you were experiencing, success within your sport, and then being placed into an environment where all of those guys were also having that same experience. And so tell me a little bit more. It's not exactly about faith, but just tell me a little bit more about that transition into going from being in high school as a stud athlete for yourself, and then getting into a place of where everybody was around there and talking about your foundations and whatnot. Kind of tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, definitely a tough transition, to say the least. In high school, you're the best on your team, and things come pretty easy for you. When I got to college my freshman year, I think not even thinking about baseball right now, I had 10 hours of study hall, which was different. I never studied in high school. And then on top of that, I probably spent anywhere from 5 to 7 hours at the baseball field, which was different. I wasn't used to long practices, and then there was weights after that. And so not even thinking about the talent around me, all of that in and of itself was tough to balance. And then just every single person on the team was the best in their small town growing up. And so the competition is heightened, the level of competition is heightened, and it was difficult transitioning over from high school to college for sure. But I found a way to get through it.
That's awesome, man. And I'm glad to hear that for yourself. And I'm sure given those experiences of starting to learn the foundations of studying, of meeting practice deadlines, of knowing that much more, hey, I can't be late, got to be on time. And I'm sure it was also an interesting mental challenge, not even being able to showcase yourself when you showed up with a broken hand.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I was late to a practice, or I was late to the weight room, and my strength coach didn't even yell at me. He just kicked me out, told me, come back tomorrow. And I was kind of like, dang, like I felt bad. I felt guilty. Yeah, it was different for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, let me ask you a little bit. Dude, I think you're a person that brightens up a room when you walk into it. I kind of want to know, where's your faith leading you as a person?
That is a good question. And it's a question that I've honestly asked myself a lot lately. I think it is leading me. I have a heart for people. I want to coach one day when I'm done playing. I know how difficult it was when I got to Clemson as a 17-year-old kid. And that's led me to a place of wanting to be a mentor type person one day when I'm done playing. Hopefully I have a long career. But I think that's where it's leading me. I think I want to coach and pour back into young men and kind of lead them and guide them as well. Because like I said earlier, I've dealt with a lot of adversity. I've been through a lot of different things. And so I want to be able to help the next generation deal with adversity. I can't talk right now.
No worries, man. No worries.
And yeah, I want to mentor younger kids and kind of use baseball and sports in general as a grounds for that. So,
well, big time. And man, dude, I got a chance to see you with the High Toms, during that Cape Cod League High Tom summer where we had an awesome little team. But man, just your interaction with kids, getting to see the way that you kind of just get to be around, different families, people gravitate towards you big time, man. And I could definitely see you making an impact in the youth and in young men, women, whoever's going to let you be around them. What makes you so approachable?
I don't know. That is a good question because growing up, I was super shy. And I think I'm very approachable. I think I can't talk again. I think I am an approachable person. But I think I'm more approachable on a baseball field or in a weight room or just in a space where I'm more comfortable and I can just be myself and kind of sit back and relax and joke around. And I think it's a lot different when I'm on the field for sure.
Right. I mean, you get to get into that persona that much more. You get to kind of put I know we're putting on, I was going to say goggles, but, you kind of put on that jersey, put on that hat and kind of is almost like, performance mentality of, hey, people they're seeing you for the first time. And they're going to get to make that judgment of you as a player, you as a person on that day. And I can kind of see that. But was there a certain point, even in your upbringing and your family life where, mom, dad, family, anybody encouraged you through that process of making sure to give back to those who were given to you?
Yes, my dad. My dad passed away in 2019, but I remember even in high school, I was a senior in high school, and my dad made me. He didn't ask me. He made me go back and talk to students at my elementary school, and that was just one example. But I can think of a million different times where he made me. I remember one time my uncle had a learning center in Atlanta, Georgia, and my dad, again, I was 15 or 16 years old, made me go and talk to these children. And he was huge on giving back to the community. My dad, if there was ever an opportunity for community service, he made me do it. I remember growing up and we went to the Second Harvest Food Bank a few times when I was growing up for community service on the weekends, and just different things. If there was a camp that needed volunteers, my dad was sure to volunteer me. And looking back, I remember just, why do I have to do this? I'm still a kid myself. Like, what am I doing? And I remember he always would tell me, like, hey, one day, son, you're going to have to do this. Like, if you're going to be an athlete, a big time athlete that you want to be, like, you're going to have to do these kind of things. And now I'm forever grateful that he kind of instilled it in me as a kid. Because now that I've grown up, I've realized the importance of giving back and how much it means to people and how much it does for me. It's amazing being able to give back, but yeah, my dad instilled that in me at a very, very, very early age.
Right. And man, yeah, I don't know if anybody on right now has gotten a chance to actually, watch the, letter to your dad video, but I mean, I think that was awesome that Clemson allowed you that opportunity to kind of put your heart on your sleeve, man. Tell me a little bit about that opportunity that you got to express some gratitude to Pops.
Yeah. So, our creative solutions team reached out to me about a year ago now, last January, and asked me, it was Black History Month was coming up, obviously, in February, and asked me, would I like to write a letter to my dad, essentially. And my first reaction was no, like, I don't want to do this. Honestly, it was 2021. I had processed it pretty well, and kind of dealt with it a little bit, but my first reaction was no, I don't want to do this. Kind of like, this is tough, obviously. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the exact date I recorded that video, but I pushed it off until the night before. And I sat down and I sat there and I was like, all right, like, where do I start? How do I write this? I've never done anything like this. And as I wrote that letter, the tears, everything kind of came up that I kind of had been holding back and kind of pushing down the last year and a half. And the tears started flowing as I was writing that letter, and everything just kind of came out at once. And same thing, looking back, I'm grateful that they asked me to write that letter, because one, that's something I can look back on and kind of just see. And I carry the letter with me everywhere I go. I still have the original letter that I wrote. But two, it just allowed me to get everything out. And it honestly was therapeutic for me to write it, and to be able to read it. And the video that Creative Solutions team put together was unbelievable. So I'm grateful they asked me to do that.
That's awesome. And I do, to hear that you carry that with you everywhere you go. I think that's powerful for sure. And, when you had mentioned in that video of, just that idea that, hey, I heard your voice, looked at pictures, any number of things, but the place that you feel them the most is on the baseball field. Tell me about your guys' connection through baseball.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think my first year of travel ball was 9U, 8U or 9U, and my first tournament I still remember to this day was in Gastonia. And I think my mom actually came to this tournament. My mom was a football mom. My older brother played college football, and I played football growing up. So my mom was at every football game, and she made most of my baseball games, but she liked to yell, and she was hoorah, hoorah. And obviously you can't be that way at a travel baseball tournament. So my dad would take me to most of my games because my mom was just too hyped for him. And, started at 9 years old. My first tournament was in Gastonia. And over the years, I played travel ball until I was 17 years old. We would go to Florida. We would go to Georgia. We would go to Virginia, Maryland, up the Northeast, down in the Southeast. And we just spent so much time together in the summer. And we drove everywhere. My dad loved to drive. He was from New Jersey, which is 8 hours from North Carolina, where I'm originally from. And he would hop in the car and drive to New Jersey just like that, the blink of an eye. And so we never flew anywhere. We drove everywhere. And for what, that's 9 years or maybe, 9 years or maybe 10 years. We drove everywhere, went to a million different tournaments, and we kind of just bonded over baseball, over that, honestly. I don't know how many miles it was, but yeah, it was a lot of travel, a lot of tournaments, a lot of nights in hotel rooms, a lot of games. My dad played college baseball at a small school named Pfeiffer in Meisenheimer, North Carolina. And so we just bonded over the game. Honestly, he taught me everything I know about the game.
And I know you guys have talked about, reaching that goal that you guys kind of had set together. And, look, our journeys aren't a straight line. We rise and we fall, and we rise again. I want to know if you mind sharing maybe a little bit of a vulnerable part of, maybe where you questioned your faith and how you found your way back, especially with, having to go through what you did.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't even say, actually, yeah, I questioned my faith. I was going to say, I wouldn't even say I questioned my faith, but I definitely questioned my faith. I would say, like I said earlier, broke my hand, tore my labrum. After that, I had groin surgery. After that, I had groin surgery and I was going into my sophomore year. And I was thinking, this is my time. I'm over the injuries. Everything's going to be all right. Well, had a really bad fall my sophomore year, probably hit all of 200. And so rolling into the spring of 2019, I wasn't an everyday player at Clemson. And I was thinking like, all right, honestly, and I don't think I've told this to anybody yet, maybe people closest to me, but I'm thinking at this point, I'm not playing every day, maybe transfer. And this is before the transfer portal was a thing. And so I'm talking to my dad about it, like, Dad, I got to go play everywhere, play every day somewhere. I got to leave Clemson. And then maybe my 9th game in the season of actually playing, I basically ruptured my quad, and that kind of shut everything down. And at that point, my mind was everywhere. And I was thinking, what do I do? Do I stay here for 2 more years? Do I transfer? What do I do? And I'm working my way back to try to get back for the end of that season. And I basically tear my quad again before that season ended. And so within a 8-week time frame, I've torn my quad twice. And at this point I'm thinking like, what in the world? Like is this it? Like, am I meant to play baseball? And while I'm dealing with all this on the field, my dad, this is 2019, as I just said, this is the year my dad passed away in August. My dad's literally fighting for his life. From January to August of 2019, every month there was something new. And so I'm fighting to get on the field. He's fighting for his life. And I hope I don't cross saying this, but he passed away in 2019 of August. And at this point, everything as far as thinking about transferring is out the window. Like, I'm staying at Clemson for the next 2 years, or I'm thinking 1 year at this point. But transfer was out the window, and I kind of just sat back and, like I said in the letter, just realized like my dad just spent this entire year fighting for his life, and baseball is just a game at the end of the day. And if he literally fought for his life every single day, then I can kind of fight back to get back on the field and to play and to chase this dream of ours. And so to answer your question, the 2019 was a tough year for all of us. It's obviously the year I lost my dad, but that's the year I really, really, really had to dig deep, and I questioned a lot of things that entire year.
Dude, that's powerful, man. And I mean, you could just hear the perseverance, the resilience, the persistence, just the strength behind what it was to get to this point. I mean, and now you get to say, having gone through that, and I hope everybody knows on this call, on this recording, still battled through all of that, and now he's found his way into the Boston Red Sox organization, an organization just known for developing and growing, good players from the ground up. And man, dude, they got a steal of a human being, that's for sure. Just because, simply put, man, like, how does somebody bet against somebody who's already been through what I would have quit through, and I mean, I'm saying that even to old me who played at your age. I had to become 30 years old before I finally got back to it. And, yourself going through that experience, you would have ended up being 30 wishing, man, I wish I would have stayed. I wish I wouldn't have given up. I wish, what could have been. There's no what ifs living in your heart right now, Kier. You went for it and fought for everything that you believe in. And man, you had some powerful perspectives of life, thrown onto your shoulders that you had to make a decision. And I'm glad for you, man, that you made the right one to keep battling through for everybody that's poured into you.
I appreciate that, Kirk.
Yeah, man, big time. And was it easier on yourself mentally at a certain point, with your faith in your heart, like once your body started to get back to where you trusted again, was it easier knowing like, I've been through the worst of what you can give me, bring it on, I'll battle through whatever I need now?
Absolutely. And this is kind of a funny story in and of itself, but I thought I was out of the storm per se. I came back after my dad passed in 2019. So the fall of 2019, I came back and had an unbelievable fall. Finally was healthy for most of the fall. And roll around to 2020, the season starts and I'm in the starting lineup on opening day for the first time ever, right? And I get off to a hot start. I think like 3 weeks into the season, we're playing our rival, South Carolina. And that week, I go 4 for 5 on Wednesday, 4 for 5 on Friday. Like whatever, I ended up going like hitting like 700 that week. I'm hitting like 400 at this point or 370 or something like that. And then COVID comes around. So I was like, yay, this is my coming out party. This is like everything I've worked for, everything I fought for is finally coming to fruition. And COVID comes in March of 2020, so that kind of shut everything down. But yeah, after I went through all of that, it definitely took some weight off my shoulders. I felt like I could take on the world per se.
Right.
I felt good rolling into 2020.
So. COVID was just another roadblock for you. It's like, all right, if that's what you're gonna try to deal me, for sure, let's go, COVID. I'll keep working. I'll keep doing what I need to do. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Well,
but luckily, 2020. If it weren't for COVID, I wouldn't have met you. So,
right, exactly.
I made a lot of great relationships the summer of 2020. I was looking back. I'm super grateful for that summer we had together. It was a blast getting to play summer ball for the first time and just meeting guys from all over was truly a blast.
That was a fun experience. And I mean, man, how many guys from that team are, in the pros right now and how many are going to be there in the next few years for sure.
Absolutely.
So it was an awesome one. Well, dude, I want to ask you a little bit of a deeper one, what's your, sorry. How does baseball, allow you to live in your faith?
Well, I think what baseball teaches me about my faith is I always tell people this. So I played football growing up. And when I played football, my senior year especially, I worked out a deal with my high school coach my senior year. I didn't have to practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and you played on Friday night. So I practiced on Monday, which was a walkthrough day or a film day from the week before, and I practiced on Thursdays, which is a walkthrough day for the day before. And so you play once a week. There's no pressure on you during practice, obviously. Well, baseball is a little bit different. I don't know if I'm sure the listeners do know, but in baseball, you play 5 to 6 times a week, especially at the professional level. And so essentially there are no days off. And so I say that to say, like, when I look back, I'm like, God, like, why did I choose baseball? Like, I was an idiot. Like, why didn't I just go play college football and hopefully try to have a shot at the NFL and do all these things? And when I look back, I legit see God's hand all over it, because baseball is a sport where you have to wake up every day. You have a clean slate. You have a game that day. You can't take the day off. You got to go in, get your work in. You gotta prepare for a game that night, right? And I just look at that, and I look at my faith, and I look at life. Life's the exact same way. Like, in life, you can't really take a day off per se, especially with your faith, because before you know it, if you're lazy and you're complacent and you're idle, like, you'll slip into a bad place and a place you really don't want to be. And so I say that to say, like, I think that's what baseball is. That's the example, and that's what baseball represents for me. That's the example it sets for me. I know in baseball I can't take a day off, and that kind of translates to life. Like, I can't take a day off in life. I have to get up every morning and honestly seek the Lord, because I need him for the day. Simply put, I need him for that day. And it's a one day at a time type thing. I can't look too far ahead. I can't look behind. Like, I have to be in the present. I have to be in the moment. And I legit have to take things one day at a time, whether it's life, baseball, or anything. And I think that's what baseball has definitely taught me, for sure.
Heck yeah, that's awesome, man. I love to hear that, and just even knowing that you're putting your feet where you're at, day in and day out, and even being where you're at. Now work to get into the Boston Red Sox organization. Like, it's still trust in the process, trust in the whole aspect of, going through that process over product, of just knowing that if you follow the steps that are best for you, it kind of doesn't have any choice but to leave you to the best available product of what you could output in any given area.
Absolutely.
Adversity, perseverance, hey, they're no stranger to your journey, man. What about your faith is something that you can offer to those going through their own valleys right now?
Yeah. That is a tough one. Honestly, I would say, and this is super cliche when I say this, but honestly, just keep the faith. I think when I look back on my journey and what I've been through, I think some of the times where God has answered me most have been times where I wasn't expecting it at all. So I would say put your head down and just trust and believe. And I know when things get rough, it's super easy to not believe and to want to throw everything out the window. Like, trust me, I've been there. But just know, I think two things. I think God is always working when we're not expecting him to. And also I think, like, the beautiful thing about the gospel and Jesus is, I think, like, the Lord wants broken people, and he wants people when they're out there. Like, if I'm super puffed up and I'm macho man and I feel like I can do everything on my own, like, what use is God to me, essentially? So for anyone going through anything, I would say, just if you're down, like, just know the Lord wants you at his feet, and he wants you to bring your struggles, your doubts, everything. He wants you to bring them to him. And essentially he wants to work through that, and he wants to reveal more of himself to you, and he wants to essentially, like, bring you out of that and show you, like, how his hand is working in everything that you're going through. So I would just say, keep the faith, even though that sounds a little cliche, but just keep pushing and just keep seeking him, because I think it's in those places where I found him the most.
Awesome. And I feel like you hit me right there as well, because I mean, it's I've had my own experiences in that realm of area where, hey man, I kind of just had to really work to keep the faith and find the faith even at different times for myself as well too, because I'm still fairly new on my walk. But man, what's been asked of me to do and what's been asked of me to serve is not me at this point. I'm fortunate enough that something gets to happen through me, but it's not because of me. It's and just as you had said, when we're sitting there walking around thinking that we're Superman, that's not the time that you really need something. It's because we're a group of broken people and we're going to fail. And just even with myself trying to do anything for anybody, of trying to help them help themselves, man, like, I'm going to fail just as much as anybody else. And I know that I need this group to help keep me accountable towards the simple disciplines and aspects of where I want to grow into as a human being. So I'm just thankful that the call got placed on my heart, and that it's, led me to the opportunity to get to dive deeper and to getting to know people like yourself. I know we spent the summer together, but just to go past the surface level, and just to get to know a little bit more about your journey, your story. And that's the beautiful game of baseball that's been able to do this. And what I'm just so thankful for is that baseball and faith has connected me to being able to talk with people all around the world. I've gotten to recruit kids from Australia and Canada and Mexico and Puerto Rico and just all around the world, all because of a little game. But, it was the faith that found me in this game and allowed me to be delivered through it. And then now hopefully continue spreading positivity, faith, and love just, throughout it. And tell me a little bit about your experiences of getting to be around so many different people in the game of baseball with different walks of life and faith and whatnot. Has that connected you closer to your own faith?
Absolutely. So I've been playing baseball since I was 3 or 4 years old. And so I've met a ton of different people, but I think I don't want to say the first time, but I think the most impactful moment or experience I had was this summer, signing up with the Boston Red Sox. I went down to Fort Myers, Florida, and played there in the FCL this summer. And I had teammates that didn't speak English for the first time, and so that was definitely like an eye-opening experience, because it was like I'm sitting there. I actually downloaded Duolingo like a week into being in Florida. And my teammates don't really understand English. So I'm like, yo, I want to like understand Spanish, because these are awesome guys and I want to be able to have conversation with them and talk to them. And so that was probably the most impactful experience, I would say, is just being there. Because when you think about it, like, heaven's going to be literally a place full of people from all different walks of life and and I'm from the Southeast, and so I've been around just the same old, like, black, white, like, same old. Yeah. So this summer was definitely awesome. Just meeting people and seeing different walks of life and seeing that play out. It was an awesome experience for sure.
Right. And even though we're all in these different places, I mean, a lot of these guys are all also connected to their faith as well too. So
absolutely, yeah, and that was awesome to see those guys walking that, and yeah, it was awesome. It was honestly life-changing.
Awesome. Well, got a couple more questions for Kier that I'm going to be asking as well, but I wanted to put it to the audience to kind of start pondering on some of your own reflections. If you wanted to take an opportunity to, share a little bit of your own faith, a little bit of your own testimonial as to how the game of baseball and your faith has, helped, build your own life and how faith has worked through you in this game. So feel free to make a request to speak here, and we'll get you guys on here in just a little bit. And before we get into that as well too, I did want to ask, just to make my little actionable request this week. And, what I'm going to ask you to do is just find some time in stillness, slow everything down in our busy lives and just bring things to a stop. See what rises to the top as, something that you can do to just improve a little bit the quality of your daily life, whether or not that's a meditation, prayer, whatever it's going to be for you. That's for you to get to decide on your connection with yourself. But just try to intentionally slow down, once a day at least. And look, when we talk about these things, when people talk about meditation or mindfulness training, it doesn't have to be an hour session. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. We can get a lot out of intentionally doing something for 1 to 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And that's, something simple that I've tried to do myself personally a little bit more was, hey, let's get more intentional about personal prayer for myself. It's, hey, I'm not going to ask myself to give myself an hour sermon. Why can't I just take 45 seconds and be grateful and put it out there and do it? So, it's a habit that I'm trying to work and grow into that much more than I already do. And I can also say, just from a personal perspective, that's grown from the other simple disciplines that I've been practicing. And the more good, positive actions that you do for yourself on a given day, the more doors that are going to open in your own mind and your own heart of what you can do to better yourself and the people around you. So it starts with one action, to do. So with that even being said, Kier, I wanted to ask, what are some of your daily tasks? It doesn't even have to be connected directly to faith, but what are some of your daily tasks that you do that are pretty consistent for yourself that have allowed you to get to where you're going?
Yeah, so I wake up, my day probably starts around, I have to be in the weight room usually anywhere from 9 to 10. So I try to wake up around 7:38, and I have a daily devotional I read, and I try to start my day in the Word and with prayer, and that kind of sets my path for the day and kind of clears my mind and gets my mind in the right place. And then I try to attack the day. I have weights. I have baseball training, skill work, obviously, after weights or sometimes before weights. And after that, I work. And I try to find time in between my dinner, like after lunch, before dinner, time in there to kind of do another devotional just to keep my mind straight and as the day goes on. Because I found just in early on in my journey, I would pray in the morning and be in the Word in the morning. And then by noon, I'm thinking about something else or I'm focused on something else. So I try to get 2 devotionals in a day just so I'm focused throughout the day and my heart's in the right place. And I've dabbled in meditation. I've dabbled in stillness and calm and headspace as well. But honestly, I'm very ADD or ADHD, so that's been tough for me.
I get it,
honestly,
man.
Yeah, for sure. But honestly, just being out of the field and playing catch and hit, and that's been honestly therapeutic for me as well. And I started going on walks as well. Honestly, not to clear my mind or anything. I was a little overweight, and so I had to lose some weight. And so my strength coach told me to go on walks. But in going on walks, I try to cut my phone off, keep it on do not disturb, And it's amazing how going on walks, it just clears your mind. Like, you're not thinking about anything. Like, if a car passes, like I said, I'm ADD. Like, I might look at their license plate or just think about something there, or I might see a bird chirp, or I might see a squirrel run across. But that's honestly been helpful as well. It started off as, like I said, something to lose weight, but that's been super impactful on me as well.
That's awesome. And you talked about dabbling in some of the aspects of meditation, mindfulness, some of these different things. But what for yourself, do you find almost hitting in the cage, your routine, your different things, that is a form of that same mindfulness training for yourself? And we had Patrick Jones on last week, who was talking about some of these professional hitters, essentially that tee work, that routine, that's their meditation. That's Absolutely. their aspect of what they're doing. Making a jump from high school to college and now to professional. Tell me now about that jump from college to professional baseball. Is it just as big as the jump from college, from high school to college, as it was from now college to pro?
Yeah, for sure. College, this is a story I tell everybody. So I'm a left-handed hitter, and in college, if I'm facing a right-handed hitter, I'm seeing two pitches. I'm seeing a fastball and I'm seeing a changeup. And so it's super easy, right? So just ambush fastballs until you get to two strikes, then you got to battle. I very rarely saw sliders or curveballs or anything else from a right-handed pitcher. And from a lefty, I saw two pitches. I saw fastball and I saw slider. And so for me, it was, all right, hit the fastball until you get two strikes. Well, I get to pro ball this summer, and I remember getting my first ever changeup from a left-handed pitcher, and I remember getting my first ever slider from a right-handed pitcher. And I'm like, whoa, timeout. He's not allowed to do that. I didn't see that in college, and so I think that was the biggest. That was the biggest jump. As I saw 3 or 4 pitches from both sides of the plate, and I'm up there guessing, and I'm up there thinking, what in the world am I going to do? And so, to me, that was the biggest thing. Also, too, just in pro ball, you play every single day.
Right.
So my body definitely wore it a little bit. Just playing every day was a little different, and I think those were the two biggest things. But definitely seeing more than 2 pitches from both pitchers was probably the most challenging.
Yeah, got to go back to the drawing board, right? Well,
back to the drawing board. We had a lot of work to do this offseason.
Man, I wanted to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about the awesome Press Sports app that you found yourself working with, and look, the founders were both mentioned in the Forbes article of the 30 under 30. I mean, Obviously, that's a testament to what they believe that this app can come. Tell us a little bit about the Press Sports app.
Yeah, so first I'm gonna just tell you how I ended up working for them,
Please.
Or how I joined the team to work for them, and also just about the app. Yeah. So I am probably I'm living in Clemson, South Carolina right now, training, and I have probably been back. And pause. This is like me telling the story. It's kind of like a God wink in and of itself. I'm back in Clemson, South Carolina. I had reached out to a guy who has a training facility and a travel ball organization up the road in Anderson. And so kind of had that in line. I was going to coach the travel ball team, and I was going to give lessons or whatnot in the off season. If you guys aren't aware, minor league baseball players are not in the 1%. We'll just leave it at that. And so I had that lined up, but still I'm kind of stressing, like, I've got to find work this offseason. Like I need to work, like I got to find a job, but also I need to find a job that allows me to kind of like train and do everything that I need to do. Like, I've heard of stories of people working 9 to 5s and they train at night, and I'm just like, I just can't do that. And so I get home, and like I said, I've got the baseball thing lined up, and I'm looking on Google, like, different ways to make extra money in the off season. I'm talking to people, I'm having these conversations, and I kid you not, out of the blue, I receive a DM from one of the founders of Press Sports, Conrad Cornell, and he calls me and he says, "Hey man, I got an opportunity that you may like." And so I sent him my number. He hopped on a call. We hopped on a call together the next day, and then we had a few more Google Meets, a few more phone calls, and before you know it, I was on the team. And that's kind of how I got the how I began working with Press Sports. And so like I just said, like I'm looking for work, and the Lord kind of answers a prayer that I wasn't even taking to him in prayer. Like I was kind of trying to do things on my own, and he's like, hey, listen, I've got this. But more about the actual app. So what Press Sports is it's an app, and I'm sure everyone on here knows what TikTok is. And so when I kind of give my pitch of what Press Sports is, I say it is it's basically the sports version of TikTok. So it's like a TikTok based app. And my feed, I'm a baseball player, obviously. My feed is only baseball highlights. It's actually a pretty sick idea. It's a pretty cool app. There's over 40, I want to say there's over 40 sports. I mean, there's lacrosse, hockey, football, basketball, baseball, soccer. There's coaches on the app. And the sick thing is, so kind of tell you a little backstory of the app. So one of our founders, Conrad Cornell, played baseball at Mercer. And he kind of fell through the cracks of recruiting. And so he had an idea in his dorm room. He didn't want kids to deal with what he dealt with. And so he thought, hey, maybe I should make an app where I can get athletes on the app, I can get college coaches on the app, and honestly give kids an opportunity to put themselves out there and just get seen in front of people. And so there's over 250,000 users. It's a pretty sick app. And working with Katie and Conrad and Drew and Mark this offseason has honestly been a huge blessing. Like I tell people this too. I never worked in my life. For me, it was just baseball. And so this has really been one of my first, I've done other jobs obviously, but this has been one of my first like jobs. And working with this team has been a blessing. It's been so good to my soul. It's been so good to me. They work their tails off. The company's obviously somewhat of a startup, so there's a lot that goes into it, a lot behind the scenes that makes the product the product. But it has been truly a blessing working with Press Sports this offseason, and I couldn't be happier. And hopefully this is something I'm doing for a long time, even while I'm playing.
Right. And it's awesome that you had said that, because I mean, I've seen that work, firsthand as well too, of it's a place where just people in the athletic world can connect. And, I'm not affiliated
Absolutely.
with Press Sports at all in any capacity, but I've seen it be beneficial for both me as a coach and, the athletes as well too, because as you said, these kids are just trying to put themselves out there. And, how intelligent is it in the age that we've been in right now, where we ran into these limitations of how recruiting can even happen, and to put our, I've relied on Twitter. I've relied on, field level. I've relied on these different things of seeing footage, because you were limited on being able to see people in person. So, I think this is awesome just as far as a little mini highlight reel. And if you like it, you hype it up, and then you just be able to follow people and track it on. And I just think it is a very interesting additional layer of being able to allow people to connect, and not just through baseball. Like you said, it's all different sports, but you're going to pick and choose what sports you really want to follow for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been awesome, an awesome experience. I found myself in places I never would have thought that I would find myself in working with Press Sports. And I've had conversations with people again that I never would have thought I'd be having conversations with working with Press Sports. And so I'm really excited for the future of this company and of this app, because I think the sky's the limit, and I think we've honestly barely scratched the surface.
You guys have a pretty good time over there at ABCA?
It was a great time, and that was one of the places. Like I said, I found myself in places I never thought I'd be. Just at the ABCA, meeting different people that you see on social media, and it was a great time for sure.
That's awesome. And guys, again, if anybody wants to jump in for themselves and, share a little bit of their heart and what, maybe faith has meant along your journey and connecting you with sports, or how sports has helped you find your faith, I'd love to hear from you as we're getting close to closing ourselves out here, and give you guys a couple of seconds to think on it. Either, make a request and I'll accept it, or, we'll see where we go. So Kier, what are you looking forward to the most as you head into spring training here? Are you feeling good, feeling healthy, ready to go?
Feeling good, feeling healthy. I've got my weight close to where I wanted to be. I've got about 3 pounds left. I think the thing that I'm looking forward to most is probably the warm weather. I was sharing with Kirk's in Winston-Salem right now. That's actually where I'm originally from. Funny enough, but I think Kirk's expecting 3 to 4 inches of snow tonight. I'm here in Clemson, South Carolina, and I got about 5 inches of snow 2 weeks ago. It was fun for a day, but I'm ready to be on the beach and be in 75-degree weather, catching fly balls in the outfield. So I can't wait until spring training rolls around.
Awesome. What as far as what was your experience with some of the mental development of what the Boston Red Sox got to do for you, at least in your first year experience?
Yeah, so we have 4 or 5 mental coaches that roam. Well, they don't roam. So each team or each affiliate has a mental coach, rather. And so I actually was fortunate enough to be introduced into to mental skills training at Clemson. We had a mental skills performance coach, Corey Schaefer at Clemson, who was awesome. The biggest thing I think I took away from him was visualization and just the power of breathing and the power of kind of visualizing things as the game played out. And honestly, it was a lot of the same stuff. We would have mental Mondays, I want to say, in the Red Sox organization, or maybe it was on a Wednesday. I can't remember too well. But like I said, I was introduced to it at Clemson, and it kind of rolled over into the Red Sox organization.
That I appreciate being able to share a little bit of that insight onto what you guys have gotten to go through. And I really do believe that mental skills training is going to continue to climb the ranks of helping athlete performance. But I think more than that, it's going to be the personal connection between coaches and players is going to get that much better for, just the understanding that hopefully more coaches are getting into that servant leadership role of where they genuinely want to see the best come out of that person as a person, more than just even coming out as the wins that might happen on a field. And Javi, I wanted to give you a chance to go ahead and share a little bit of what you might have to say. And Javi himself is a former professional baseball player as well. So I think he speaks from some good experience of what faith in sports can do for his life.
Kirk, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for jumping on and being supportive, man.
Well, absolutely. This has been a tremendous who's pouring his heart out here, and it's absolutely incredible to hear his story. I think for me, from my experience, when I first had at first I questioned my faith, because back in '94, I was making my way up through, basically started in low A here at Fort Wayne, playing for the Fort Wayne Wizards in the low A of the Minnesota Twins. I was basically dominating the Midwest League, 0.45 ERA through like 41 innings, had like 60 strikeouts or something outrageous like that. So I got bumped up to Double A. And in my third game in Double A, my arm blew out.
Oof.
And this was right before my manager, Phil Roof, and Terry Ryan, the old GM for the Twins, they basically told me that by September, they're expecting me, Eddie Guardado, and LaTroy Hawkins to basically move up to the big league to the big league club to basically vie for the upcoming closing job from Rick Aguilera. So I was pretty excited. Well, then my arm blew out, and for the next, I say 5-6 years, I was angry at God for a long time. And I was angry with him that he actually took my gift away that he blessed me with. But looking back at it now, the one thing he actually did was actually got my attention, because the first thing I thought of when it came to going to the big leagues, getting to that big stage, was, wow, I can have all this money. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to, have all these women. I'm going to be Mr. Famous. I'm going to be a movie star after I'm done with this. Well, God knows how to humble you pretty quickly, because that's not the reason why he blessed me with his talent. He blessed me with my talent to pitch, to actually perform on the field and actually give him glory for the talent that he blessed me with. So it took me a long time to really understand that. And once I found my faith, once I found myself and started to understand who I am and trusting in him, now I saw the turnaround in myself as far as getting my arm where it's supposed to be. You know, my last year in 2001 was the best of my career. And basically I went out like, you know, the old, like Larry Bird, went out on top and had the best year of my career, and I decided to retire. And looking back at it, I have zero regrets from that, because God put me in a path to mentor young men to not go through what I went through during that time. And the only thing that actually got me through that, because there was some, you know, I know he talked about some low valleys and going from peaks to valleys and staying in that valley for a long time. And you know, the old adage of keeping the faith, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I had to stick with that. I had no other choice.
Right.
So for me, it's more so of getting these young men to really understand now that even though you hit a valley right now, you know what? You only have one way to go up. And the only way to go up is to basically close your eyes, press on the gas pedal, move up, and let God guide the steering wheel and take you right to him, because he's the one that's in charge. He might be the co-pilot, but you got to also let him take the wheel as well to take you where he wants to take you, not where you want to be taken. So that's a pretty good message that I've been telling my boys, you know, even my own kids, you know, at this point. So that to me is a huge, you know, a huge thing that I actually look at and thankful for every single day, that God gave me that opportunity to experience that failure in order to see that success that I have with all the kids that I've mentored, and even now the kids that I'm coaching in college right now at Ivy Tech, what I'm actually doing for them. So to me, it's basically a faith walk, the walk in faith and walking with the Lord. It is not a foot race. It is not a sprint. It is a long marathon. And when you get to the finish line, he's there waiting for you with open arms and take you to that baseball field in heaven and play with all the heroes that we had when growing up and continue playing the game up in heaven. That's what it's all about.
That's awesome, Javi. I appreciate you sharing your heart with us right there. And honestly, you know, a little bit of the vulnerability of what comes with it. I can't talk right now either, Kier, but really, as far as it goes, man, you know, it's not always easy to share that aspect of what's on our heart or what we might be able to grow through. And exactly what you were talking about actually connected with me with a quote that I have written down, which is, you know, from Martin Luther King, and it's faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the staircase. And you know, it really sounded like exactly what you were talking about right there, of just kind of closing your eyes, putting your foot on the gas pedal.
Absolutely right. And, you know, talking about the movie quotes, one movie quote that I always tell my kids about is that, yeah, that it's okay to do what you want to do, was basically this baseball now and whatever it is you want to do. It's okay to do what you want to do until it's time doing what you were meant to do. And to me, you know, I heard that's actually from the movie The Rookie. That's where I got that from. But actually, one of my old infield instructors, Jim Lemon, from old Big Lem from the Minnesota Twins, and old Yankee great, you know, power hitter. He told me that a long time ago, back in 92, 93, and I was in spring training. He told me that a long time ago. I'm like, wow, it didn't hit home until I would say maybe a few years ago. I was like, wow. So it's amazing what people tell you a long time ago. It doesn't stick with you then, but later on, after experiences, you now understand why they told you.
Right. Javi, thank you so much, and appreciate that, because I needed that little bit of a reminder of that quote for myself as well. And Dominic, I'll get to you in just a second, but I wanted to get to an awesome question that was asked by one of our guests, and I believe it's towards Kier more specifically, obviously, but is there a phrase or verse that has gotten you through the suffering that you witnessed, and how would you continue to persevere and stay in the present?
Yeah. So my dad's favorite chapter, verse, book in the Bible, I guess you can say, it was Psalms 27. And Psalms 27 ends that it says, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord. And growing up, I knew that was my dad's favorite verse when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And that honestly has become one of my favorite verses. But just that verse in and of itself kind of just encapsulates everything that I've kind of been saying. It's just like, just keep the faith. Wait on the Lord. Like, you will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And after he passed, that's kind of what I told myself, is just wait on him, continue to seek him. And things will ultimately turn around. Things will get better for sure. And I kind of know now why that was my dad's favorite verse, but that verse has done a lot to my soul, and it's spoken to me since I was a little kid, and even more as I've entered manhood.
I appreciate you taking some time and sharing that verse with us, and something that connected with you, through the process of just being able to stay the course and do what you need to do. And I don't know why it reminded me of it, but it just made me feel, that feeling of, the greatest amongst us, must be the ones to serve and must be the ones to lead. And that's just when we can all take that mentality for ourselves, that even if we're moving in the right direction, still taking some humility in our own journey and our own process, and realizing that the more we learn, the less we know, because we have to recognize that even as good as we might get at something, we recognize the shortcomings of our faults. And it could even go back to where you're talking about on the baseball field of now going from college to pro, where, hey, I thought I was good enough to get to the pros, and now I'm in the pros and I'm realizing, hey, there's a whole nother bag of tricks of pitches and stuff that I have to learn through and get to, for sure. So I think that's awesome. Dominic, I wanted to open it up to you real fast to be able to share a little bit of what you got, man. I know you're grinding away, and the Lord's working through you a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had a question for Kier. I just wanted to hear maybe your thoughts and experience on just being a believer in a world where there's a lot of negative influences out there, and maybe could you just share your experiences with just to be maybe surrounded by guys either at Clemson or in the minors, where guys might be doing stuff that, not building up to what you would include in your personal values, stuff that would be negatively impacting on you if you were to be able to participate in that kind of stuff, and just kind of how you would handle all of that and go through that, and what was your reputation among that crowd?
Bear with me, Dominic. I lost Kier real fast. I think I'll be getting him back in just a second. Yeah, I got him right here.
Okay. Do I have to repeat my question?
No, let's see what we got. Kier, did you hear any of that before you got cut off?
I heard most of the question. I don't know why I don't know what just happened. Everything's kind of shut down, but I did hear most of his question. Was he asking more, or was he finished?
No, I believe that you had got the gist of what he was trying to ask. Yeah,
for sure. Dominic is his name?
Yep.
Hey, what's up, Dominic?
How's it going?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I'll start you off with where I think I made mistakes. I think one of the biggest things you have to realize is people are at all different points in their journey. And I think looking back and reflecting, I think one of the biggest mistakes I made is I think I was a little bit early on in my journey, a little bit condemning and kind of, honestly, if I'm being vulnerable and frank, judgmental of people. And so I think first and foremost, you have to realize that, like I just said, everyone's at different points in their journeys. You never know what the Lord is doing in someone's life. And so I would say something I'm learning now, especially is to try to love the people around you that are doing things that you wouldn't necessarily want to partake in. And by no means am I telling you to compromise your beliefs and your faith. But I would say for sure to love on people and to honestly just pray for them in a loving way, and don't be condescending, don't be condemning. And I would say try to find areas where you can connect with your teammates and connect with the people around you without compromising your beliefs and your faith. Because at the end of the day, you're with these guys. I mean, I don't know if you're in high school, if you're in college, if you're playing professionally, but you're with these guys more than you're with anyone else. And so I think if you are around people that that you don't like per se, then you will probably be miserable, especially if you're spending the majority of your time with them. So I would say try to find areas where you connect. I would say love on them as well as you can. And I think it is good as well to have a group of friends. I think it's okay to have friends outside of baseball. Some of my best friends and guys that'll be in my wedding one day don't play sports to this day, and we kind of our relationship is honestly centered on faith. So I think 3 things, or I don't know if it's 3 things. I told you I'm ADD, but I think a few things that I would tell you to take from this is don't be judgmental. Love your teammates regardless of where they are and what they're doing. Also have a strong community of believers around you, and try to find common ground between you and your teammates who you may not agree with completely, because I think it's important to build relationships with people, especially if you're spending most of your time with them. I hope that helps.
For sure. That's all really great stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And Kier, I know we're getting towards the end, and I know we've gone a little bit over the 9 o'clock hour, but appreciate your time definitely. And before I wrap anything up, was there anything else that you had from your heart that you felt like needed to be shared that wasn't asked?
Nothing comes to mind. I really, Kirk, I really appreciate you and honor you for this podcast, and it honestly has been a pleasure being on here. I've had a blast. I love what you're doing. So continue to fight the good fight, continue to do what you're doing, and I really truly think that this is making an impact in so many people's lives, whether you see it or not. It's definitely had an impact on me, and you had an impact on me in the summer of 2020, and even after that. So I really, really, really appreciate you having me on here.
Well, now you're not going to be able to wipe the smile off my face. So I appreciate that too much, man. And it's good people like you. It's good people that are in the game of baseball. It's good people like the Lord that has pointed me towards the gifts that other people have that I get to be blessed by, that, I get to take in as a little piece of me. And, selfishly, and I mean this with all love, I can't believe how much this experience is helping me grow as a person through, the people that are pouring, just information into me for that 1 hour. Yet, I'm just wishing I could be a fly on the wall for, the entire day of who they get to be around, who they get to coach, who they get to bring their love and energy to. So, man, I'm rooting for you big time. And I've seen what you've worked through for yourself to get to where you're at. And now that you're there, I'm sure you see farther.
Absolutely, Kirk.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today and spending an hour with us. I know that college baseball season has started. We jumped on a special night for us, and we'll probably continue to do this as available, pertaining to my own college baseball schedule. But you know what? The biggest thing is I'm not letting that get in the way. I'm not letting that get in the way. We're going to do this once a week, no matter what, and find out a way to be able to just connect as a community. And I appreciate the messages, the gratitude, and anything that's continued to be shared and supported, and just getting to be a part of people's hearts. And but as far as it goes, thank you guys for everything that you've done and continue to do, and look forward to, just being able to see everybody continue to grow. If there's anything that you ever need from me, feel free to shoot me a message, and I'll do whatever I can do to be of service to you. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a nice one.
See you guys.